What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American, here today to react and learn about the UK election results explained. Because, like most Americans, I don't understand anything about British politics. As a matter of fact, this UK election barely made the news this week here in America. Like, I almost didn't even know that there was an election going on in the UK. Isn't that insane? I barely saw one headline in the American news. Kind of crazy to me. And to be honest, I really don't even understand what this election was for. I'm embarrassed to admit that. I gotta be honest, but I also feel like I am very representative of most Americans in that sense. But I'm trying to set things right now by learning about what has happened in the UK election and the results. So, let's take a look.
The Labour Party has won this general election.
And that's it. 14 years of Conservative rule has, this morning, come to a rather brutal end.
What? Wait, what? There's there's a whole different party that won the election. Wait, what? Wait, Conservatives lost the election, the Labour Party won. That's a huge deal, isn't it? Isn't it? What? I gotta be honest, I didn't know what this election was for. Is this like to vote for MPs in the House of Commons, right? That I at least know that much about this, or remember that much. But I didn't realize there was a whole like overturning of the majority party. Wait. That means that doesn't that mean that there's a new prime minister? Wait, what? Oh boy, how is this not bigger news here in America? Like, seriously. How? People are not talking about this. This isn't the major headline. Like, I didn't even know about this. I knew that there was an election, but that's kind of sad. That's very sad, actually. Like, not just for myself, but I think just for America in general, that it's like, what are we doing? Like, we're not reporting on major news events like this. What, just because they're happening outside of the United States? There's anyway, the election happened in the UK. A new party became the majority. That means there's a new prime minister, right?
After a relatively short but terribly bruising campaign, the Conservatives have been reduced to their lowest seat share ever, with them dropping below the 156 seats that they won in the 1906 general election.
Whoa! This was a huge defeat. Like, massive defeat. So, this is basically telling me that the people of the UK were really, as a majority, looking to change things. They were looking for a change. They completely swapped the majority party, and the old party lost like the most seats they've ever lost in a long time. So that kind of speaks volumes, I guess, about how people feel living in the UK, I guess.
On the other side of things, though, Labour have achieved almost the highest seat share in their history, getting very close to the huge 418 seats that they won in the 1997 general election.
Wow, not since 1997 has something like this happened. This is crazy! Oh my gosh. Wow, I have to be honest, I wasn't expecting this to be so substantial, because again, I figured I would have heard about this. God, but no, it's a good thing. Like, I'm glad that I kind of go out of my way to try to learn about these things, because otherwise, how long could I have gone not knowing that, like, there's a new UK Prime Minister and all that?
It's not only Labour who've had a good night, though. The Liberal Democrats have also had a very good night,
Really?
with their seat share ticking up to a huge 71 seats, the highest seat share ever, and up from only 11 in 2019.
Right, I gotta try to wrap my head around the UK political parties, because we don't even have like a real Labour Party here in America. We just have the Conservative and the Liberal parties. So I don't even really know what the Labour Party is, really, or what they stand for, to be honest. Unless there's something comparable here in America that I don't know about.
This is, in fact, even higher than their seat share in 2010, when they agreed to a formal coalition with the Conservative Party. Similarly, it seems that Reform UK have had a pretty good night too. They've gone from no seats to a pretty respectable 4 seats.
Wow.
Even more impressively, it seems they've achieved an even more respectable 14.3% of the vote.
Well, also, this is just reminding me that there are countries out there that have more than 2 political parties, which is really nice to hear. More points of view, more options to vote for. Here in America, like, you have 2 choices, and that's it. No middle ground at all, it feels like.
The Greens didn't have a terrible night either, with them not only holding on to Brighton Pavilion, but also gaining Bristol Central, Waveney Valley and North Herefordshire.
Wow.
The only other party that had a pretty bad night was the SNP, who were damaged by their ongoing scandals and their very recent change of leader. Despite
SNP. I don't even know. What does that stand for? I'm not sure what that is.
their electoral dominance in Scotland over the last decade or so, last night they received their lowest seat share since 2010, winning only 9 seats. This is a significant decline since 2019, when they won 48 out of the 56 available in Scotland. Obviously, this will raise a couple of key questions. The first is whether this is the beginning of the end of SNP dominance in Scotland. And secondly is what such a terrible result will mean for the cause of Scottish independence.
This is so interesting because the United Kingdom is like multiple countries, but put together into one United Kingdom. You know what I mean? So it's like Scotland has its own sort of preferred political party, it seemed like, but not anymore because they lost in spectacular fashion, it looks like. But that must make politics pretty complicated in the United Kingdom. The fact that there is, like, you know, multiple countries that comprise it.
So anyway, these are the headline results from the election, but let's dive a little deeper and have a look at what happened.
Okay. This is so overdue for me to know about this.
Now, the key event from last night occurred at 10 p.m, when we got our first indication of what was to come in the release of the exit poll.
Who is this? Who is this in the middle here? This is the Labour. I mean, it must be the Labour Party leader, right? So this guy, I'm sorry. I don't know who he is. Is he the new prime minister? They're showing him in the front and center, you know?
Now, the most shocking thing to note in the exit poll here was the number of expected Reform seats. The exit poll predicted that Reform would get 13 seats, significantly higher than most of the MRP polls in the run-up to the election.
Reform Party? I have never even heard of most of these parties. But again, I think that's really cool. I think that's awesome that the UK actually has so many parties that get representation like this. I think that's great. I think we could really learn from that here in America.
However, there were some wobbles through the night, with some polls suggesting that the exit poll had overestimated the number of seats. The more observant of you will notice that it turns out that the exit poll had indeed overestimated, and in the end, Reform achieved only 4 seats. The other shocking find from the exit poll was the number of predicted Tory seats. Prior to election day, many of the MRP polls were predicting below 100 Tory seats, while the exit poll predicted that the Tories were going to win 131 seats. What followed was deeply chaotic, and something that made writing this video through the night even more difficult.
This election had so many crazy twists and turns, and this is also just really interesting for me from my sort of American point of view, talking about seats and stuff. Because, in America, our election is done so very differently than the election in the UK. We don't talk about really like seats and stuff. We're talking about like what states are being won and electoral college votes and stuff.
As the results started coming in, it appeared that the exit poll was slightly wrong, although the BBC and ITV couldn't quite agree in what direction. In the wee hours of Friday morning, the BBC updated their prediction, with them suggesting that the Conservatives were going to win more seats, while ITV updated theirs and predicted that they would, in fact, win fewer.
How does that happen? Man, how does that happen? Two different media outlets in the UK reporting literal opposite projections.
As things stand, it appears that the Tories have won slightly fewer than originally predicted, but not significantly.
Okay.
Anyway, overall results aside, the night was also particularly interesting when it came to individuals. There were two properly shocking and unexpected results. The first was Jonathan Ashworth unexpectedly losing his seat to an independent candidate. Ashworth has previously been the Shadow Health Secretary and, up until today, was the Shadow Paymaster General.
Oh, right. This is another thing I'm not really thinking about. Because in America, we're voting just for the president. That's it, really. Well, there's other stuff too, vice president and other things, but in essence, the president. But in the UK, there's tons of like representatives who are being replaced and seats being swapped out, and like it's not just about electing the prime minister. That's a big part of it, but there's a lot of electing of new representatives to the House of Commons. Right? Am I getting this right?
It appears that the loss of his seat has been a result of Labour's stance on Gaza, something that could cause problems for the incoming Labour government more generally. The second unexpected result was Jeremy Corbyn's election in Islington North. Having been deselected as a Labour MP, Corbyn opted to stand in his constituency as an independent. He did, however, make the decision to stand rather late in the election cycle, something that led to a decent proportion of journalists and pundits to believe that he was going to lose the constituency to the new Labour candidate. This wasn't the case, though, and Corbyn secured himself a pretty decent majority. So,
this is very specific, and of course, I'm really not familiar with any of these people that we're talking about. Some really specific people, like, almost lost their representation, their seat, but then got it, and okay, I understand a little.
Now that we've gone through exactly what happened through the night, it's worth going through what this all means for the main parties. Now, the most interesting party to discuss right now are the Conservatives, who, as we've just discussed, lost some pretty major figures through the night.
Wow! Did that say 344 down to like 100 something? Wow! Were people expecting this? Like, I'm surprised because I didn't know about any of this, or like the feelings of the UK people and the election projections, and maybe if you live in the UK, this was kind of expected. I don't know.
At the time of writing, Sunak has not yet announced his resignation as Conservative leader, although he is expected to either this morning or in the coming days and weeks.
He's not the Conservative leader anymore? This is who I thought was the Prime Minister. I don't know if he is or isn't at this point. I'm still confused. He's not even going to be the party leader anymore? If you lose, what are you, kicked out? You get the boot? They're like, you loser, get out of here. Like, how does that work?
This will naturally kickstart a Tory leadership election. The question now is who would take over?
So now there's like another election that the Tories need to think about. Who's going to represent their party from here on out, and that's a big deal.
It's a little too soon to tell. There are some candidates that are in a particularly strong position right now.
Kemi Badenoch is... What's this cat doing? What's this cat up to?
Some candidates that are in a...
I'm very distracted by the cat.
particularly strong position right now. Kemi Badenoch is in the strongest position. She's got a rather strong following among right-wing Tories, both in Parliament and among the membership. What really bolsters this position is the fact that one of her key rivals for the leadership, Penny Mordaunt, lost her seat last night.
Oh.
It is worth mentioning, though, that there has been an issue in Badenoch's constituency with postal votes, and if this is challenged in the courts, it could cause problems for her candidacy in the Tory leadership election. Anyway, someone else that there's some chatter about in terms of taking over the Tory leadership is Nigel Farage and his potential defection from Reform UK in order to lead the Tories.
Really? So now that the Tory leadership is kind of up for grabs, there's quite a few representatives who are suddenly coming out of the woodwork, putting their name in the hat, huh?
After all, he now has a seat in the House of Commons, and there are some relatively senior members of the Conservative Party who have gone on the record as saying that they would like Farage to join their party. Only the next few weeks will show exactly what happens here. But if you do want to stay informed on this, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Anyway, what happens next for Labour is quite simple. The new Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, will meet the King.
Hold on. Stop. Stop. Pause. Wait a second. This is honestly one of the biggest things I need to hear about. We're talking about the new Prime Minister. This man. Who is this? What did he say his name is?
The new Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, will meet...
Keir Starmer? Am I saying this right? Keir Starmer. Just like that. New UK Prime Minister. Keir Starmer. I gotta try to remember that. I've never heard his name in my entire life. How does that work? Is that how out of touch us Americans really are? I swear to you, if you polled America right now and said, who is the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom? I think, honestly, at least 90% of Americans wouldn't be able to answer the question. That many. Seriously, I actually think that.
Keir Starmer will meet the King and agree to form a government in his name. He'll take office at Downing Street, assemble his first cabinet, and could even represent his party in a PMQ session before the imminent summer recess. They will soon begin implementing their policy platform as outlined in their manifesto. Whether they're successful at implementing this is not yet known, though. And
there's like a whole... this is interesting. A whole manifesto, like the promises that the Labour Party made that they're going to enact if they won. Well, they won. Oh, really? There's like I could actually learn about like what the new Labour Party leadership has in store for the UK. That'd be interesting, actually.
And something we'll need to keep an eye on through the next few years of Labour government.
Yeah.
Regardless, this is clearly a monumental election for Labour and the UK.
Yeah.
And when these kinds of elections happen, people tend to like to save newspapers and magazines with the headlines for posterity. The best...
I had no idea, seriously, going into this video, how monumental this was. That's crazy. Wow. Anyway, that is the end of this video. That was very good. That was desperately needed by me, I have to be honest. I had no idea what was going on. This was great. This was by TLDR News. I gotta give it a like, because without this video, I wouldn't know what's going on. Wow. Wow. I think I'm just most shocked about how out of touch I was. How I didn't know about any of this, and how important this stuff is. And it kind of reaffirmed to me how out of touch America is. Like the fact that we aren't like posting headlines about the new UK leadership and how this is going to affect the UK and the world and us is weird. Maybe we're just like a little too obsessed with our own election coming up in our politics, but that's really no excuse. I'm quite glad that I learned about this. This was crazy news to me. Brand new news to me. Wow. That's fascinating. Anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on the UK election results and what that means for the UK and the world, or any of your thoughts on this. That'd be very interesting to hear about. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to the UK and UK culture, stuff about the UK I've never learned before, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.